I gave Wagner fighters a chance to enlist in the army, Putin. Russian President Vladimir Putin said in an interview published Thursday that he gave Wagner Group personnel a chance to continue working in the Russian army today. In an interview with Russia's Kommersant newspaper, Putin said he made this request during a meeting with fighter and founder Yevgeny Prigozhin late last month, 5 days after Wagner launched an unsuccessful campaign against the Russian military hierarchy. After the offensive ended, Moscow commissioned firefighters Prigozhin and Wagner to solve problems in neighboring Belarus. He also said that the Russian government and the government should discuss the law for private soldiers. There is no such person as Wagner, Putin told the newspaper. There is no law for private military establishments. There is no such law. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said that after the coup d'état against Moscow's military leaders last month, he allowed Wagner mercenaries to continue working in Russia. In an interview with Russia's Kommersant newspaper on Thursday, Putin said his request was one of many that he made during a meeting with about 36 Wagner fighters, created by Yevgeny Prigozhin 5 days after Wagner's army briefly attacked last month. In Putin's view, the military can continue to operate under the current leader, whom the newspaper simply describes as gray hair. Kommersant said that Putin discussed meeting with 35 Wagner fighters and Prigozhin in the Kremlin, offering them future options, including continuing to accept their command for 16 months. It is reported that Putin told Kommersant everyone can gather in one place and continue their services. Nothing will change. They will always be led by the same man who is their true leader. It seems that the soldiers will be in the Russian army, although it is not clear as Putin is at the head of the army. A lot of them nodded when I said that, Kommersant said of Putin. However, Prigozhin reportedly disagreed. Prigozhin heard this and said, "No, the children will not accept this decision," said Putin. Putin also directly confirmed to Kommersant that the Russian leadership relies on a private military organization to operate outside of Russian law. He said that the probability of Wagner paper being in its current form is low. There is no such thing as Wagner, Putin told Kommersant. There is no law for private military establishments. There is none. Wagner warplanes played an important role in Russia's military advance into eastern Ukraine, and in May was the force to take the city of Bakhmut by the end of the month. Fighting power. Prigozhin, however, continued to accuse the Russian military commanders of not supporting his men, even cutting off the distribution of artillery and other ammunition at the crucial time of the battle, which was killed at Bakhmut. After months of conversations with senior army officials, Wagner's forces crossed from Ukraine to Russia and took control of the southern city of Rostov-on-Don on June 24, when other soldiers fled to Moscow. But Wagner's offensive ended just as quickly as it began, just 24 hours after the attack, when Prigozhin announced that he had halted the advance after receiving a concession that allowed his troops to return to Belarus and fight their charges. Prigozhin's location is currently unknown, and as of last week, his army has not yet received approval to withdraw to Belarus. On Wednesday, the Russian Ministry of Defense announced that Wagner has regularly completed deliveries of heavy weapons to the Russian army, while the Pentagon said that military personnel did not participate in a significant military operation in Ukraine. Pentagon spokesman Air Force Brigadier General Patrick Ryder said on Thursday, "At this time, we do not see any significant contribution of Wagner forces to killing the Ukrainian war." Washington, D.C. A video showing Wagner's soldiers driving on the Russian highway M4 in the Voronezh region emerged at the site and was subsequently retrieved, the Institute for War Studies, ISW, a think tank-based think tank, said on Thursday. The region behind the Russian-occupied Ukraine on the one hand. A Russian military blogger claimed that video showing Russian police transport, including buses with Belarusian license plates, could show a truck coming and going, ISW said. Russian President Vladimir Putin said he was willing to allow Wagner Group soldiers to continue fighting in Ukraine, but would only allow those soldiers if they were led by a so-called gray-haired senior leader instead of their renegade leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin. However, Prigozhin quickly dismissed the idea, telling Putin at a meeting after the June 29 uprising that the children will not accept the decision, according to Putin. Oddly enough, while Putin acknowledged Russia, the Wagner Group, which led the bloody 10-month battle to seize the eastern Ukraine's main city of Bakhmut, said oh no. Putin's remarks on Friday marked the first time Russia's military leadership explained what had happened after the brief coup d'état of the Wagner bloc aimed at reversing wartime policies. FAT. As part of quick negotiations between the Russian government, mercenary leaders, and 34 Wagner leaders. They were summoned to the Kremlin to meet with the president, who the next day described their protest as criminal. His future services, but not only Prigozhin, took part in them. For 16 months. Sidoy, whose real name is Andrei Troshev, is a Russian veteran who received medals in the wars in Afghanistan and Chechnya, according to EU sanctions documents. Official French documents and sources know the problem. Russian news. Troshev is in Putin's hometown of St. Petersburg and posed for a souvenir photo with the president. Putin said, "Everyone can gather in one place and continue their work, nothing will change for them. They will always be led by the same man who is their true leader." Putin said that most of Wagner's soldiers who attended accepted his request, but Prigozhin, who was sitting in the front, did not show any interest. The offer was quickly rejected with the response, "The children will not accept this decision." Putin did not disclose what offers the workers finally received. But on Monday, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Wagner's forces pledged loyalty to the president at the 3-hour meeting and announced their plans to continue the fight for the fatherland. When Kommersant asked whether Wagner would be retained as a battle group, Putin replied in disbelief, "But there is no Wagner. There is no law on private military organizations." No. Ad. Kremlin. The confusion is the next announcement on Friday that there is no legal entity named Wagner, and the legal status of these companies is hard to imagine. The fate of Prigozhin after the failed coup remains a mystery. He should be in exile in Belarus with his army, in accordance with a ceasefire brokered by Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko. But Lukashenko said recently that Prigozhin returned to Russia. Belarusian state television broadcast on Friday a video of trainers giving Wagner training to the Belarusian Territorial Defense Forces at the shooting range near Asipovich, where Wagner gave the camp. The Belarusian messaging app channel said that Prigozhin spent a night at the camp earlier this week and posted a photo of himself taken in a tent. The Belarusian Ministry of Defense did not say how many Wagner soldiers were in Belarus. Earlier, the Russian media reported that 62-year-old Prigozhin was in St. George, who allegedly arrived at the FSB Security Service office earlier this month and claimed to have previously been an arms depot. President Biden said on Thursday that the United States did not know the exact whereabouts of Prigozhin, but joked that the military leader may have been poisoned.